The practice that we are doing here is the practice to destroy the kilesas. It's not the practice that we are going to follow the kilesas, whatever they tell us. We are determined, when we are practicing, we are determined not to follow our kilesas, but to find the roots of the kilesas and root them out of our heart, to make an end of the kilesas. The kilesas are the fang of avijja. And avijja is the master of deception. It's a master, it's the absolute master. Don't forget it. So whatever comes into your mind, whatever comes into your citta, in most of the cases, it is nothing than the power of the avijja, it's nothing than the power of deception. Whatever you think you understand is wrong understanding. Whatever you see, whatever you experience, this is what you experience. You don't need to put a word on it, you don't make a meaning out of it, you just know that you experience something. And you know what you experience. The knowing nature, we have to get down to the knowing nature of the heart. Don't forget that. Don't fool yourself with assuming this or knowing this or knowing that. Knowing in the sense of the world is not the knowing nature of the heart. The knowing nature of the heart is the heart that experiences things. We, for instance, know that the fire is hot, or we assume that the fire is hot, but this is not the knowing nature of the heart. The knowing nature of the heart is the heart that experiences the heat of the fire once it puts its hand into the fire. This is the knowing nature of the heart. It doesn't need any word for describing this experience. So don't get confused. We have to get down to this knowing nature of the heart. But we are constantly fooled by the assumption we make. We are constantly fooled by the views we have about this, about that. This is wrong or this is right. Within the knowing nature of the heart or within the true nature, there is no right and there is no wrong. But this is not conventional reality. While we're living in conventional reality, we have to live with the good and bad, and we have to live with the right and the wrong. But the true nature or the true knowing nature of the heart, doesn't know right and wrong. There is just this is. So while we are going to practice, we are not getting fooled. We are not getting fooled by the kilesas, or we are not getting fooled by avijja, the master of deception that tries to deceive us into understanding this, or deceive us into understanding that, deceive us into knowing this, or deceive us into knowing that. That's all wrong knowing, that's all wrong understanding. We first experience the true knowing nature of the heart once we go into the deep state of samadhi. There's just knowing. The only thing that is remaining is there's just knowingness. Just one-pointedness. Everything has disappeared. The body has disappeared and the world has disappeared. And then we get a good preview of what Nibbana is like, of what the true state, of what the state of freedom is like. That's why normally when we come out of this deep state of samadhi, the first reaction is to go back into. And the longer we have been in this deep state of samadhi, the more it appears to us, or the more seems to us, when we come back into the world, that we are in the middle of a world war. In the world war of the senses. And unless we don't experience the difference between the world of the senses and the deep state of samadhi, we do not know for sure. We can assume, or we can guess, or we can believe that there is a state like this, but we still do not know. So this deep state of samadhi will bring us some sureness, that there is something worthwhile pursuing. That there is something worthwhile pursuing, not to believe the kilesas that are constantly nagging at our heart, constantly trying to persuade us this is good or that is bad and this is not right and that is right. We know within our own practice what we have to do. The moment we open our eyes, we know we have to do. We have to do either the repetition of the word Buddha, or we have to observe the breath coming in and breath going out at the tip of the nose, or we have to do our investigation. This is the only work we have to do. And this we know, this is right, this we know that is going to lead us to the Dhamma. Everything else is just a deception, or it's a master of deception that tries to fool us, this is not right, or that is not right, today it's wet, or today the rain is heavy, or today it's hot and now I'm sleepy, and things like that. Always trying to persuade us not to do our practice. If we are not determined to go ahead with our practice, then we are going to fail sure. There is no way that we are not going to fail. Every day, we fail already. So when we see we fail, we make up our mind, or we get more energy and try to get more determined not to fail again. We just don't want to get into contact with the senses, or not even think about the senses. The senses, when we are sitting or when we are walking, the senses are there. But we don't need to go out and look what are the senses like. Is it a person, or is it a bird, or is it a chicken, or is it a snake, or what is it? We just know that there is a sense contact, and that's it. And then we go back to our Buddha, or go back to our investigation. Investigation of the body, or investigation of feeling. And that's all. Everything else, any kind of assumption that we have gone there or have gone that, it's all wrong assumptions. Of course, the moment the kilesas get less, then the assumption or the experience we make and the assumptions we do about them come closer to the truth, but will never be the truth. Don't forget it. The assumption itself are just conclusions, or the conclusion itself are just conclusions. They are made up. Made up like this world is made up. However close they are still not the truth. Don't forget this. The practice of not giving in to this assumption, or giving in into this views, and not looking around and not going out to the senses, is undermining, has the purpose of undermining the power of the kilesas. And if we do not undermine the power of kilesas, if they still have the reign over us, says now I'm hungry, or now I'm thirsty, or now I'm sleepy, now I'm tired, now I've done enough, if we do not undermine the power of them, they will still remain the power or even get stronger. This you should always be aware of this. As the Lord Buddha said, one who doesn't go a step forward makes 2 steps backwards. 2 steps. Remember this clearly. It's a fight, it's a constant fight. It's constantly going into the boxing ring and fight with the master of deception. Fight with the champion, fight with avijja. We are tricked, we fall out of the ring, and the moment we get conscious again, or we get aware or mindful again, we step back into the ring. That is our work. We get aware that we've been fooled, and we step in. We cannot avoid the process of getting fooled. That is clear. But the moment we know it, we go back into the ring and try not, or be determined not to get fooled again. That's all what we can do. We can only do 1 step at a time. Do it, and you will undermine the power of the kilesas. Once we undermine the power of the kilesas, we are going to understand, or we're going to see, not understanding with our brain, but we are going to see how the kilesas are working, how the kilesas are infiltrating the heart, and where the roots of the kilesas are. And once we see and once we understand with our heart, understanding in the matter of the heart understands through its own experience. Just like the heart understands through its own experience of touching the fire that the fire is something unpleasant or hot or burning, so will the understanding arise within the chitta. This is right, or this is wrong, or this leads to good, or this leads to bad. This understanding that takes place, or also called insight into the true nature of things, they can be on different levels. They can be on the level that relieves us from the power of the kilesas for an hour, or for a day, or for 7 days, or forever. The deeper the insight, the more is the impact. Don't forget, it's not a playing ground. The only thing that plays is avijja. It plays with us. It has the power over us. Don't forget, it has the power over us, not only this life, but million lives before. When Tanaja Mahaboa said and saw his previous birth, he said, when he just puts the bones or the skeletons of his previous birth scatters over Thailand, there wouldn't be a room empty. Now you can imagine what on 1 square meter, how many skeletons you can put. So how many lives has he gone through? How many lives have we gone through already? And we have gone through these millions of lives just because of the reigning power of avijja. So don't think that this is an easy game. Don't think this can be made as a playing game. It's a difficult task. It's a hard task. It's a tough work. We have to go step by step, and not looking back, only looking forward. It's like climbing a mountain. Just 1 millimeter or 1 centimeter or 1 meter, that's enough. We just don't want to fall back. We don't want to do it all over again. Avijja is the one who plays with us. Avijja is something like the tyrant that has the reign over its subject. The tyrant is not interested if its subjects are doing well or if its subjects are doing bad. It's only interested having the power over his subject. And that's the same for avijja. Avijja has no interest in us feeling well or in us feeling bad, in us being in heaven, in us being in hell. That's not the interest of avijja. We are the ones who have to suffer. We are either in hell or we experience heaven. But the avijja is the one that has the power over us. And it will keep the power. And in the heavenly realms it has the power over us, and in the hell realms also. And that holds, of course, true for all the other different realms, like human realm or animal realm or ghost realm or demon's realm, or the different realms of the heavenly world. So, understand this. Avijja has only the interest to keep its power over us. Where we are, it's not interested. As long as it can play with us, as long as it has the power over us to send us here or send us there, and have it fun with us, then it will not bother us. We are the ones who experience the results. We are the ones who have to pay the bill. Avijja is the one who goes and gets drunk, and we have to pay the bill. Avijja is the one who sends us in order to destroy this or to destroy that, and we are the one who have to suffer for it. It's a different power. It has a power over us. So that's why we can address it, and that's why we can fight it. And the way of practice is the way of fighting the kilesas. It's not going to give into the kilesa. It's fighting avijja in every stance. Being it sitting or lying down or walking position, at every stance we have to fight it. If there would be an easier way, if it wouldn't be that tough way, then the Lord Buddha would have been so kind and give it to us. But because there is no other way, because it is the way of not following the kilesas to get down to freedom, that's why the Lord Buddha gave us this way. The way of sila, samadhi and panya. Mindfulness as its base. Sila as its protection. And panya as its force to cut down on the kilesas and finally to cut the roots of greed, hate and delusion. And to overcome avijja. The Lord Buddha itself, in his fight against this power, lost his consciousness 3 times. Just because out of pain. Think about this. Really think about this. If it would be so easy, then he wouldn't certainly be falling unconscious because of pain. And the same thing happened to Thanachand Man. Thanachand Man, in its process of finding freedom, felt unconscious 3 times as well. Just because he didn't want to give into the kilesas. Just because he didn't want to believe the persuasion of the kilesas. Just because he didn't want them to have power over him. We should keep this in mind when we do our practice. And we should not forget that. The way of practice is the toughest work in the world. There is no tougher work than the work of fighting the kilesas. But there is no work that is more rewarding than this kind of work. Because with every step we go, the burden will get easier. So don't forget it. It's a fight against the kilesas. Even if you don't like the word to fight, or if you don't like the language or fight the language of soldiers, it's still, this is what it boils down to. You can find other words for it, but in the end you have to overcome, you have to destroy the kilesas. You have to uproot them out of your heart. However you call it, it's still uprooting them. So it's a language of fight, it's a language of soldiers that play the role in the description of the path. If you describe it with the similar of going into the boxing ring and meeting the champion and getting kicked out or knocked out and come back into the ring until you can stand long enough to see the tricks of the champion, and then the second step is to avoid the blows of the champions, and then the third step is to give the champion a blow so that he is knocked out. This is our first victory. When we knock him out, and being knocked out only for an hour or for a day or for 10 days, well, he will regain his consciousness back again, and then he will come and bother us again. But this is our first victory, and then this gives us some determination of going on in our practice. But first of all, we have to stand. First of all, we have to stand up to the blows. That means accepting the blows of the champion and not acting and not reacting. Just go back into the ring. Whenever you catch your mindfulness, just go back into the ring. Be it the word Buddha that you repeat, or being the breath at the tip of the nose, or being your subject of investigation. Being in the pain that you investigate, or being in bodily parts that you investigate, the outer bodily parts or the inner bodily parts, whatever. Just go back and do your investigation. If some hate is coming up within your practice, direct the hate towards the one that causes this hate. That is the best way. Just put the energy of the hate towards the one who constantly fools you, towards avijja, and get the determination in your practice. This will boost up. For people who develop a lot of hate, and once we start investigation of the body really so that it makes so that it causes some effects, then unpleasant feelings will come up. Unpleasant feelings can come up. Also feelings of hate can come up. If we can direct this hate towards the one who causes this unpleasant feelings, and that is nothing else than the power of avijja, then we get a good start. Then we get a head start. Because this kind of energy is pretty heavy. If we can direct it in the right direction, then we can make some good effort and some good progress. When you look at that, what I just described, or described in the last 10 minutes, it's a battle of war, or it's a war battle against the kilesas. It's a war battle against greed, hate, and delusion. There's no metta. There's no loving kindness towards the kilesas. Don't get fooled into loving kindness. We all have to be loving kindness towards the others, or loving kindness towards ourselves. We are loving kindness towards ourselves when we uproot the kilesas from our heart. Then we have the most metta. Just to follow the kilesas of us, or to follow the kilesas of other people who want this or who want that, that doesn't mean metta. That's not metta. That's not loving kindness. Loving kindness is loving kindness that remains. Loving kindness that is the pure loving kindness, something like the love of a mother towards her child. Wherever the child goes, if it becomes a good boy or a good girl, then she will love it. And if it becomes a bad boy or bad girl, she will love it as well. Because it's her own child. This is the loving kindness we talk about. Loving kindness towards all people. So people we like and people we hate. People we are fond of and people we think they are scum. Having the same kind of loving kindness, helping each person in the way that it helps them, not helps their kilesas. So it's very difficult for us to decide what is really metta and what is not metta. If we just follow the wishes of others, or if we follow our wishes that tell us, this would be nice, or this I need, then this is not metta. This is just fostering the kilesas of other peoples or the kilesas of ourselves. I had it in my practice quite often when I thought, Tanacha Mahaboa should be like this or should be like that to me. That was my wish, and then I thought, why doesn't he follow my wish and talks to me like this or talks to me like that? Why is he always hitting my toes? But after a while, after a few years, I understood that his loving kindness was much bigger than my kilesas, and actually this was the right reaction for me to understand and get rid of my kilesas. So only in the long run we will understand if it's something, a reaction of another person is something that helps us or is something that really puts us down. Something that leads us to good or something that leads us to unwholesome. But in the beginning we thought, or we like this person should be like this, or this person should be like that, or this person should react like this, or this person should react like that. This is nothing than the wishes of our kilesas. It has nothing to do with what the Dhamma wants or what is good for us and what is not good for us. So a person who really sees through will react towards that, or will react to us with what is really wholesome for us. Wholesome in the long run, not in the short run. Sometimes people ask, what the practice of metta. Why don't we do the practice of metta? Tanata Mahabodha says, we normally don't do the practice of metta. We do not develop metta because metta is a quality of the heart, and once the heart gets quiet and once the heart gets still, metta automatically will turn up. So that's why we don't have to develop it. And on the other hand, he says, if we really develop, if we really follow the practice of developing metta or developing loving kindness, we will attract other people. I've seen it for myself, for people who develop metta for 3 or 4 months, just doing the practice of metta, and they have a radiation that attracts other people. And for us as practitioners who want to overcome our own kilesas, this is not really helpful. We are fighting ourselves and we don't want to be bothered by other people, so we should not try to develop this metta, that radiating metta that attracts other people, and in the end they will become a nuisance to us. They constantly disturb us within our practice, asking for this or asking for that, and that's why we do not normally practice this metta. However, there are some cases if some people just cannot overcome their hate. If some people, whatever they see, whatever they see in their environment, be it persons or being circumstances, and they react very hatefully, then for them, they can start, develop a little bit of metta towards themselves, develop a little bit of metta towards other people, so that this strong tendency of hate will calm down. When we do develop loving kindness, or when we do develop metta, we first look for a person that we really love. Be it our mother or father, or be it our friend, or be it a person that is close to us. And we take this love that we feel towards this person and radiate to ourselves. Once we radiate to ourselves, once our whole heart is filled with this loving kindness, then we send it off first to people who are close to us and dear to us, and then we send it off to people who are neutral to us, and in the end we radiate all people that are our enemies or that we are not feeling good about. We can do that, and it will have effect. It will calm down the hate that we feel for these people. And especially if we have a problem with 1 or 2 persons, then we can do that. But as I said, and as I warned you, don't do it if you don't need to do it. Because it will attract other people. And this attraction, for a practitioner who is really determined to uproot the kilesas, will have a counter effect. People will come. will come and bother us. Because it's very clear. If we go into a bar or if we go into a restaurant and there are only two tables free, at one of these tables is one person sitting that is radiating love, loving kindness, and at the other table there's somebody sitting who is full of hate. We always tend to sit on the table where the person is very kind or very loving kind, has a lot of loving kindness. It just attracts people. And that's why when we are doing our practice, we don't do it. It will come anyway. Once our heart gets quiet, once our heart gets calmed down, and once we uproot the kilesas, the more loving kindness we will have. Because it's a natural quality of the heart. The less kilesas we have, the more metta we will have. But as I said in the beginning, don't misunderstand this kind of metta. This kind of metta wants the best for the people. It doesn't want, just the people to fulfill their wishes they have towards us. It wants the best of the people. It wants the progress of the people. It wants them to be happy, and it wants them to get free of dukkha. This is the loving kindness that is natural within our heart. It's not that we want to make friends, fulfilling the wishes of other people. No, this is not metta. This is just a form or just a deception of avijja. In the end, we think we are somebody because, all the people like us, but the moment we don't have anything anymore to give, the people will stop liking us and will avert us or will revert from us. So this is not really loving kindness. This is just making friends or buying friends. Be careful that you understand the quality of metta. Metta has nothing to do with what we want, that the other person gives us what we want. This is not the kind of metta or kind of loving kindness that I'm talking about. The kind of loving kindness I'm talking about is really the person who has this metta that he wants the best for the others. That he really wants the best. And in this best for the others, he does not judge if somebody is worthy or not worthy. He just gives them whatever they need. Whatever they need to develop in a wholesome state of way. He doesn't give them something for somebody. For instance, we know this example, somebody is a heroin junkie, and he needs some heroin, otherwise, he's in a terrible, miserable state. So, in the world, we think, we have metta and just give him some heroin, so that he can be back into his nice state. But this is not the metta I'm talking about. The metta I'm talking about is actually quite cruel in the sense of the word. It just takes away the heroin from that person and helps him in a difficult state to overcome that difficult state of dependence from heroin until he can stand on his own feet. And in the practice it's the same thing. When somebody has loving kindness, he just pulls out the thorn that is poisoned out of the skin or out of the body of the other person. But the pain to pull it out, people don't like it, so they accuse that person of having no metta. But from the point of view who pulls out this poisonous thorn, it's the utmost metta he can have. Because in the end, after a few days or after a few weeks of pain, that the removal has caused, the wound will heal and the patient will feel better. So now I wish for you, all of you, that you put the utmost determination and the utmost effort into your practice. Please do not slack in your effort. Please do not buy into the kilesas. Do not go on knowing this. Do not believe in knowing this, or do not believe in understanding this. The only thing that really understands is the citta. And the citta doesn't need to make any conclusions about it. The citta just knows. Get this difference of understanding. If we do a practice, if we do the same practice for 3 or 10 times, immediately we come up with a conclusion and immediately we think we understand. But this is not the understanding that takes place in the heart. Once the heart understands something, once the heart understands something clearly, it lets go of its own accord. And there's no question about it. If you can ask yourself this question, have I understood this, or have I not understood this, or did I think that this understanding is correct, or this understanding is not correct, then you know you have not really understood it. It's not the understanding that takes place in the heart. Once the heart has understood, it understands it. And there's no doubt about it. How can there be any doubt about it? One who gets an arahant, he doesn't need to ask anybody if he's an arahant. He knows it. He knows it within his own heart. One who has become a sotapanna, he knows it within its own heart that he has entered the stream. One who is an anagami, he knows that he is not going to be reborn into the heavenly realms or into the hell realms. He's not coming back into this world anymore. He just knows it within his heart. He doesn't need to ask anybody. The moment we need to ask anybody if this is correct or that is not correct, we know our understanding is wrong. And we have to do the exercise once more again. Not only once more, probably 100 times more again, or 1,000 times more again, or even 1,000,000 times more again, until our heart understands. We have to teach the heart, not our brain. Our brain is coming up very quickly with conclusions. It comes so quickly up with conclusions so that after 10 times or 15 times you don't have to do this practice anymore, because we think we have understood it. But that is only thinking. And thinking has nothing to do with reality. Reality is what the heart experiences. That is real. If you put words to it or not put words to it, it's still an experience. And that's what we have to count on. So, I don't want you to forget this. Don't come up with wrong conclusions. Don't come up with this is right or this is wrong. You know what your practice is. It's either the practice of samatha, or it's the practice of mindfulness, of sati, and mindfulness, of awareness of what is going on just right now in the moment. Or it's a practice of investigation of feeling, or investigation of pain, or investigation of the body. Be it the external parts of the body or be in the internal parts of the body. So, please keep this in mind. And with this I want to end my talk. Just don't get fooled by these kilesas. Don't underestimate their power. If they wouldn't have this extreme power, how would they be able to keep us in this realm of rebirth for such a long time? Take them serious. Take them serious as your enemies. Because these are the enemies that cause you all the dukkha. It's not you who causing yourself the dukkha. It's kilesas who causing you the dukkha. Who sends you down to hell, who sends you down into this dip or in that dip. They have no interest. If you're feeling good or if you're feeling bad, as long as you're feeling in line with the kilesas. That's their only interest. As long as they can tell you, and they have a sweet voice, and that's why we listen to it. Believe this or believe that, or do this or do that. That's all what they want. We are their playing ground. You understand that? We are the playing ground. The 5 khandhas, that's what we call us. is the playing ground of the kilesas. They use it against us. So we have to chuck them out of this playing ground. We have to uproot them out of our heart. Understand this? And that's not an easy task. So keep your effort, keep your determination on chucking them out. Just don't allow them for any moment to come into your heart and make a mess out of it. Because you are the one who suffers under this mess. Understand that clearly? I hope. So, stop it.